I'm gonna wait till that's done. Cool. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 4 of the Motley Stew Show, where I look over the past week and see what floats to the top in terms of importance. Let's see what we got on the menu this week. I'm probably way off on that. Before we get into this week's appetizer, I actually want to issue a correction on something I mentioned in a previous episode. I mentioned that Apple was not going to be talking about the iWatch in their September 9th conference, but it turns out those rumors are false, and they actually will be releasing at least images and details about the iWatch on September 9th. Supposedly, there are actually going to be multiple versions of the iWatch, just like there are multiple versions of the iPhone. The most expensive looking to be around $400 according to reports right now. So, correction issued. I have been wrong before. I probably will be wrong in the future, and I can admit that. So the appetizer this week is actually the release of the trailer for a movie called Rosewater that's written and directed by Jon Stewart of The Daily Show. Now, most people know Jon Stewart to be a really funny, satirical, and politically minded person, but actually he can direct what seems to be very serious and dramatic footage. Many people are already comparing this to when Ben Affleck directed Argo, and the kind of doubts that everybody had that he could pull off something that well. If the rest of the movie looks as good as this trailer, I think we're looking at Oscar contention. Now, the movie stars Gael Garcia Bernal, detailing the experiences of Iranian journalist Maziar Bahari. Now, this was a guy who actually did a segment for The Daily Show, and then later, when he was covering the Iranian presidential elections, he was arrested and accused of being a spy. Now, some of the evidence that they used to label him as a spy was actually that interview from The Daily Show and what he put on Facebook and really, really ridiculous stuff. But he was kept in jail for over 4 months, and he was psychologically tortured the entire time. So Jon Stewart has a personal connection to this story. So I'll put a link to the whole trailer below, but here's a little clip.
It's crazy how, you're 1 month pregnant and you're already like this.
Go away.
It's just 1 week.
Welcome to Iran. Are you here for business or pleasure?
I'm a journalist. I'm covering the elections for Newsweek magazine.
Ahmadinejad is devoted to the supreme leader. Ahmadinejad is what must be.
Don't you want to report the other side?
We are the educated.
So you're a student?
We are the educated.
Welcome to Dish University.
Why did you put away your camera when you saw the satellites?
There's certain situations that if you film them, it won't do your friends or the movement any good.
I don't know about you, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. Now, it's an easy segue over to the salad portion this week because I'm going back to The Daily Show. The Daily Show recently came back from hiatus, but what happened during that hiatus was everything going down on in Ferguson. So it didn't take very long for Jon Stewart to launch into a rant about what's going on in Ferguson and the people who are claiming things on both sides. Now, what Jon Stewart goes into right away is just the fact that some people are trying to argue that racism doesn't really exist in this country anymore, which is patently ridiculous. Personally, it was really nice to see Jon Stewart get really angry, at least in his particular way, because he doesn't have that kind of leeway on the show, because it's a cable broadcasted show and it relies on advertisers. Not like John Oliver, who's doing Last Week Tonight over on HBO. They have a subscriber-based business model, so he can kind of say and get away with what he wants because he is not beholden to advertising money. Comedy Central, on the other hand, is. So sometimes you can kind of feel that Stewart's being held down just a little bit as to what he can say and get away with. But this time, he makes a brilliant, brilliant speech and really gets everything I think he wants to say out on the table and does it in a way that only Jon Stewart can do. So here's a little taste of that as well.
But first, obviously, the big news of the past few weeks, the town of Ferguson, Missouri, where the shooting by police of teenager Michael Brown has sparked a series of protests, which in turn sparked a, let's say, stern response by police who appear to be auditioning for RoboCop.
Now for the drinks this week, we're going to talk about Senator James Inhofe, who's a Republican from Oklahoma. Just recently, the Senate was actually arguing about a resolution that only said whether the Senate would actually agree that climate change was real. It wasn't talking about anything else. It was just an agreement to say, yes, we as the Senate believe that climate change is real. Now, to get these resolutions passed, they need unanimous agreement. But Senator James Inhofe disagreed. Now, while these resolutions don't seem very important to people who are watching, they actually do have a legal precedent because once they agree on these resolutions, it can kickstart certain policies, legislation, and government actions into place. So sometimes they can seem purely symbolic, but they actually do have meaning. The Senator Inhofe did not want this to pass, so he got up and denied that climate change is happening at all or that it's real. Now, some people are speculating that the reason why he did this is because if those actions and legislations were kicked into place by having a resolution that agreed that climate change is real, that would hurt some of the people who heavily donate to his campaign and industries that are heavy in his state, like oil and fossil fuels. But while he's not alone in the Senate in denying that climate change is actually happening, This time, when he sat down, he was quickly rebuffed by Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, Democrat from Rhode Island. Senator Whitehouse decided to get up and not only deliver a science lesson, but also a verbal smackdown in the caliber of WWE. During Senator Inhofe's speech, he mentioned something called a petition project that actually has a number of scientists who have signed on and put their names to it to come together as a group and say climate change is not real. Now, this petition has been widely debunked by a lot of people and a lot of peer-reviewed papers, also speaking to the number of people who are on that, and names that they found, including the Spice Girls. So this was casually pointed out by Senator Whitehouse during his rebuttal. One of the other top names on this list, and people that helped get it organized, is a guy named Patrick Michaels, who used to go by the title Virginia State Climatologist. That was until the governor of Virginia told him not to say that anymore because he didn't want embarrassment for the state. And I don't know what kind of smackdown you can take, but really when your whole state decides to turn on you, I think there's something probably wrong with what you're saying. Now, unfortunately, the resolution did not pass because it has to have unanimous agreement. But look, we've got to get on board here. Climate change is real. And there are many people that are saying we've got to recognize that before it's too late. And some people say it's already too late. Moving on to the main course, in happier news, racism still exists. This week we heard a story of Marcus Jeter, a 30-year-old African-American DJ in New Jersey, who was pulled over and then arrested and beaten and just harassed physically and verbally by the police. When he was taken to jail, he was charged with evading the police, resisting arrest, and assault. He was looking at multiple years in jail, and it didn't seem that there was any proof otherwise of what happened. He denied everything and said that he was assaulted for no reason by the cops. Now, of course, they denied it, and he didn't have any proof. That is, until the dash cam footage showed up. And not only was there one video, there were two, because the first cop pulled up behind him, and we had that dash cam footage, which already showed that that cop got out of his car and bashed in the driver's side window with his nightstick. But the more damning video was from the second cop that showed up, who actually was coming from the other direction, decided to drive over the median, hit Marcus Jeter's car with his own police car, get out, and start helping with the beatdown. Now, that guy's dash cam was actually pointed from the front of the car, so you could see some of the damning evidence that proves everything that Marcus Jeter said. Now, on the audio tape that the cops were using originally as evidence, they kept screaming, "Why are you grabbing my gun? Why are you going for my gun?" Now, some cops have learned that if they can get that on audio, they can use that as a defense for any sort of assault that they need to do or want to do. Now, as the footage showed up, all the charges against Marcus Jeter were dropped. Now, two officers are looking at falsifying reports, one's looking at assault, and another one was allowed to retire instead of being fired for tampering with evidence. Now, even with all those charges put out there, I guess it's still not against the law to be a raging. Now, this is only one of the many cases of complete racial discrimination that still happens today. So the next time you hear someone like Bill O'Reilly saying that white privilege does not exist, ask him what was the last time that he was beaten by cops and pulled over and threatened with years in jail for being a lighter shade of black. Now, for dessert this week, I'm actually doing two videos. They're both ice bucket challenges, and they're both really funny. And I know that some people might be getting tired of these, but still, the creativity that's coming out these days is actually really funny on one side, and the other one's funny just because it's a 2-year-old girl.
Hello, Internet. Ladies deodorant brand Secret has challenged me to dump ice water on my body for ALS research. Challenge accepted. I thought something like this might happen. Boulder Dashery! Sadly, I have let you down, Internet. You see, my perfectly toned man muscles violently reject cold water. It is something that I've been dealing with since childhood. I wanted with all my giant heart to participate in your Internet do-goodness, but it looks like that's not to be. I am sorry, Internet. But to make up for my heartbreaking physical limitations, I solemnly pledge to donate 1,000 American dollars to support more ALS research. In the meantime, I plead, continue performing wet body challenges in my stead. You are all amazing human creatures to me. And now, I challenge Bruce Campbell, every man named John Johnson, and Fabio to dump ice water on their bodies, as I could not. Mother of pearl!
Challenge! I nominate Marshall, Adam, Chantal. Look out. Ah! Fucking hell!
Now, the mother of this 2-year-old girl actually taped another video trying to get her to apologize for saying those bad words. Didn't happen. So this week's charity is actually called Charity Water. Now, with the Ice Bucket Challenge, a lot of people have been talking about the drought that's going on in California and also the fact that many people around the world don't have access to clean drinking water. Now, when Matt Damon was challenged to do the video, he proved this by actually getting water out of his own toilet to do the challenge with. P.S. Not putting a slam down on you, Matt Damon, but actually Charity Water has been ranked higher by Charity Navigator, which is a great site to use to look up whether or not that charity is valid. But Charity Water has been ranked higher than water.org, which is run by Matt Damon. So with all the donations going on for ALS, which is still great, Charity Water and some of the other clean water organizations are really a good place to funnel some of the extra money if you have donation money, or maybe even just think about donating your regular funds to them.
Yes, you're gonna take a bath.
Come here. It's a live cameo. Look over there. Can you say hi to everybody?
Hi.
Yeah. You gonna take a bath?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll bake you.
Okay. He wants down. Okay, to wrap things up this week and give you something to chew on, I've mentioned Anita Sarkeesian before, but things have gotten a little strange this week. Now, Sarkeesian released another one of her tropes videos. This one is actually Women as Background Decoration Part 2. Now, she's used to every time that she releases one of these videos that she gets comments, she gets threats, she gets all sorts of garbage that comes up from trolls around the internet. Now, whether you agree with her or not, some of the stuff that's being thrown her way is completely despicable and unnecessary. It doesn't help the conversation on either side. But this time, she actually had to leave her own home and call the police because someone threatened her on Twitter to do vicious damage to her and her own parents, and gave the addresses for both places. Now, for evidence, Sarkeesian actually provided a screenshot of that Twitter page and the tweets that were sent. Now, of course, some of the people who don't like Sarkeesian and don't like what she's discussing have come out and said that they think that she faked it all, that she's using it all for support for her nonprofit, and that she's trying to use it to raise money and play the victim. Now, first off, it's sad that women today all the time have to deal with the fact that if they come out and say that someone's harassing them, or that they're getting discriminated against, or they were beaten, that they have to defend the fact that they are the victim. It's something that happens every single day, and it's something that needs to stop as soon as it can. We talk so much in this country about innocent until proven guilty, but for some reason that doesn't apply to women. We've even got senators that are trying to defend the college rape crisis and saying that it doesn't happen as much as they say it does, and that more women than not actually fake the word rape. That's just a sad, sad state of affairs. But getting back to the screenshot that she used to prove the harassment that she was getting, some people have said, again, that this is fake. They're pointing out things like she wasn't logged in, and the fact that she took the screenshot 12 seconds after the last tweet happened. But let me throw out a scenario here that could be probable. I'm not saying this is exactly how it happened, because there's always a chance it didn't. But I'm just throwing out a probable scenario that might lead to what she's talking about. She's at her computer, at her desk. Her phone starts blowing up with sick and twisted tweets. One of those tweets finally shows her address. She decides to go to her computer and open up that person's Twitter page. You do not have to be logged into Twitter to see someone's Twitter page. So she pops it open on a new tab, runs a screenshot so that she can use it as evidence for when she calls the police right after. Now, I don't know why that doesn't seem plausible to some people, but that's the situation as it stands. Now, you can choose to believe her or not believe her. But still, this wouldn't be the first time that this happened, and you can't say that all the harassment that she's gotten has been faked, because that's just not possible. Especially since some of that harassment has come in the form of video replies to her on YouTube, so you can see these people threatening to do things to her, and also talking about what they think she stands for and what she deserves. Now again, agree with her or not, this kind of language and this kind of harassment doesn't help the debate, and it doesn't support you or anyone involved. And it's just downright wrong. I mean, this kind of abuse and harassment really is just scraping the bottom of our communal barrel. Which leads me to a question. Do you honestly think that she faked this screenshot? And if so, why? What was her motive? So that's the end of this week's episode. Thanks for watching. You can like, comment, subscribe, and favorite, and share this video all over the place. I'd appreciate it. It'd really help out the show. And as always, even though you got a little taste of it before, here's a little more, Logan.
What does the duck say? There they go. Splash. There they go. Say splash. Oh, are you jumping in? What does the duck say? What does the duck say? Oh my gosh.
It's the neck motion that just sells that. So the next time you hear someone like Bill O'Reilly saying that white privilege does not exist, ask him what was the last time that he was beaten by cops and pulled over and threatened with years in jail for being a lighter shade of black.